My buddy Ryen Russillo, who's part of the Ryen Russillo podcast, part of the Ringer, and Bill Simmons, who never calls me back. All right, let's talk to Ryen Russillo, my buddy. Brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Okay, here's my first take. It's not even a take. I just want you to give me a solution. So I've said, in 2 months, 3 months, Kawhi Leonard's holding a trophy. Third team MVP. Third system. What the hell am I supposed to do with that? Is he not a top 10 player? All you tell me is Jordan's the best 6 for 6. You don't tell me all-star games matter. You don't tell me MVPs matter. If points mattered, I talk about Elvin Hayes and Karl Malone. So I just want to, what am I supposed to say with Kawhi Leonard in 3 months if he's holding his third trophy and is the MVP? What do we call him all time?
You know, it's funny. The notes on this, I was prepped up to believe that you were going to say he was top 5. So I was ready to just crush you because when it comes to top 5, like top 5 is so lofty. And then that turns it into, I have to do this anti-Kawhi argument that I don't want to do because I love Kawhi. And what you're about to explain here, if you were to get that third title with a third team, is incredible. But if we have to be difficult about this, top 5 or top 10, he wasn't an all-star until his 5th year. He wasn't even at 20 points a game until his 5th year. He's one of the great development stories that we've ever seen in the history of sports. And the irony with him leaving is that most guys leave because they don't think they can win. Kawhi's like, yeah, I won. I don't care. I want to go somewhere else. We knew he didn't want to go to Toronto. It was more about getting out of San Antonio, and then he wins there, and then he's on the cusp of maybe doing some great things here with the Clippers. So I think it's unique, and I think it's different. But when you start talking top 5, top 10 ever, there's just too many other resumes, guys with multiple rings, multiple championships that didn't do it at other places because they were already winning with their current team.
That's pretty good. He's the greatest development basketball story ever. So I knew Russillo would give me that's actually a great way to put it. Okay, here's my other thing. So you and I, whenever we talk about kind of what's going to happen, not rear view mirror, but what's going to happen going forward. So if the Clippers win, you know, Landry Shamet missed a bunch of games. Paul George missed 20 games. Kawhi's missed 15 games. You start looking at all their players, and this is very Doc Rivers. He did this in Boston. He gives guys days off. If the Clippers, and I think they're going to win, and I think they're going to roll through this if healthy, and the NBA is going to have a team that won, that rested, that's why this Lou Williams, I mean, they're going to have a team that rested like 4 of their top 7 players constantly. Does it send a message to the best players in the league? What the hell are you doing playing 78, 82 games in the regular season? I don't think the Clippers winning is necessarily great for the league, and I think they're going to win going away because they're deeper and fresher. Your thoughts on that?
That's part of it, okay? And you're right about Doc Rivers. You go back to those Celtics years, it's like, hey, KG, that 40-minute-a-night stuff in Minnesota, it's not happening here. You know, he's like 38, 39, he goes to 30. He cut down Pierce's minutes and made him more efficient. Doc Rivers, I think, is the best NBA coach when it comes to how he handles stars. He's just incredible at it. And anybody that's like anti-Doc, I go, you know, there's other parts of this that Doc is so good at. And so I just have a hard time with the criticism. However, I know the Clippers themselves at times, even with these different, you know, lineups and all that, I think they got frustrated at times. So I'm not saying that this was even, I don't think I agree that it was all by design. I think at times the lack of starts were necessity because of Paul George's injuries or some of the stuff that they've had to do to maintain Kawhi and then Beverly missing time. So I don't think their preference would have been to have this unit not really be all that cohesive. And then I think the whole thing gets blown out because we have this unprecedented 4+ month break. So anybody that's been pro rest, like, here you go. You got 4 months off and then a handful of games before the playoffs start up. So really, it's going to be about their depth and their, I think, adaptability with the different lineups. I mean, the other thing that the Clippers did is I think they just gobbled everybody up there at the end to make sure nobody else could grab them. So I'm with you. I'm starting to lean more and more Clippers, but I don't think it's just because of the sporadic starts they had with their guys.
So Ryan is from Martha's Vineyard, which is a real Tony area out east. It's where rich people grow up. So he doesn't relate necessarily to the common man like I do. But the point being, I've got a Patriot take on this. And again,
I love that the richest guys in the industry are always trying to act like I'm a Rockefeller, but
okay, all
whatever.
Right. So you can shoot holes through this. The 2 things we know about Belichick: he's prepared as hell, and he's smart. Listen, when you are as good as he is forever, he's got so much equity in the market. Now all of a sudden, they weren't aggressive in free agency. No big hurry to replace Tom. Let go of some marginally expensive players, and now everybody's just opting out. Patrick, and I'm not saying they shouldn't. They either had a baby or it's on the way. I'm not.
There we go.
Okay, I'm not.
Love
saying,
it.
But now it's like 6.
I already know what it is.
So I'm not saying tanking, but sometimes a company has a priority, and they don't have to release a press release to tell everybody. They're rebooting. They're going 5-11, getting a top 10 pick and getting one of these 3 superstar quarterbacks. Is that nuts?
Yeah, I think it's totally nuts. Belichick's not telling all of these guys, hey, you know what, Patrick Chung, Hightower, just shut it down. We're going for Lawrence out of Clemson. Have you seen his tape? Yeah, all right. You take a year off, not make any money. I'm going to just tank. I just don't think Belichick is wired that way. I don't think football guys are wired that way. I think the only people that have ever really suggesting tanking are front office people that have come from like non-traditional football backgrounds. When I mentioned tanking to Bill Polian, I thought he was going to punch me. Now, granted, I thought Bill Polian was going to punch me like 4 or 5 times. We had him in studio. I love the guy, but he was just like the concept. He was gagging at the thought as a football guy of giving up an entire season, especially when it's that division. I think Bill is still wired to want to win every single game, win this division without Brady. And yeah, of course they're going to need a long-term solution at quarterback, but to tank for a high quarterback draft pick when 50% of these guys flame out anyway, no matter who's evaluating these guys, I think it's to just punt on an entire year in the NFL is so foreign to these guys, and certainly somebody like Belichick. I know you've been on this for a while.
Yeah.
I respect the marriage to this take, but I just don't think Belichick is somebody that's going to go, cool, 2-14, mission accomplished.
Yeah, listen, after years of brilliance, I get a bad take, okay? That's just the way the show works. Okay, another one. So they come. Mike Sando comes out every year. He interviews like 50 coaches, and they do the tier quarterback thing. It's mostly right. I think Carson Wentz is a bottom-end tier 1 guy, but I laughed at the Jimmy Garoppolo's tier 3. But let's go to Wentz. So Wentz, they have middle tier 2. The NFL top 100 list is coming out, and the Eagles announced yesterday Wentz is not a top 100 player. And I'm like, okay, is it still the Nick Foles thing? Is this what it is? So I want your takeaway. What am I not seeing? What am I seeing with Wentz nobody is? What am I not seeing everybody else is?
Well, let's start with this. The NFL Top 100 list is the worst list of the lists that comes out, okay? You go back to that thing historically. They had Cam Newton as the best player in the NFL the year after he won the MVP, and it was like, all right, recency bias through the roof. They had Ezekiel Elliott top 10 after like 1 year. Here's my biggest – I could do this all day, but I don't want to bore you to death. They had Case Keenum 51. They had Case Keenum as the 51st best player in the NFL. He had never thrown for more than 9 touchdowns in a season in his entire career, and he has a nice little season, and then he's better than everybody except for 50 players in the league. So this list is historically like one where you go, all right, let's just tear this thing apart. The Wentz argument itself, Colin, it's always felt like the people that have done this professionally, meaning playing quarterback, are so enamored with the throws because anybody that you trust that really has that scouting eye or has played this game at a high level, they'll tell you that Wentz has a handful of throws that nobody else in the league has except for maybe prime Rodgers. Okay, I think you're agreeing with me here because I know we've talked about this. We've heard it all. So I think the guys that are on TV that play the position are super defensive of him because they see this ability that they probably never had. But the injury part of it is real, even though last year he had nobody to throw to. I mean, that was all like undrafted street guys that he's throwing to, and they're still competing. So I'm with you on the talent. He's certainly a top 100 guy, but I had Sando on our podcast, and we went through this, and some of the knocks on him are still about Nick Foles, which is really weird. Like, it's an odd, unique thing that happened with Foles. Yeah. They beat the Pats, and he puts up all these numbers, but I don't know how that actually gets in the way of the evaluation for Wentz. So it does feel like kind of a make or break year for the perception of Wentz and where he is in the standings of quarterbacks.
Yeah, I got about 4 more questions, but I only have a minute and a half, so I'm going to give you Jamal Adams.
I'll be quick.
You don't have to be that quick. Jamal Adams, I'm not even going to preface it or qualify it. Your take on the move.
He's unbelievable watching him. I mean, a safety that stands out like that, the stats, all that stuff through the roof. Okay. I don't mind Seattle. I don't mind any teams. Like, this is to a lesser degree, Pittsburgh going, wait a minute, you guys are giving away Minka Fitzpatrick? Okay, done. He's awesome. Okay. And Adams is even better. So if you're going to invest in the right guy that's this special, that's this young, that's great. But if Jamal Adams is going to go to Seattle and after like a few months decide he's going to comment on everything, you know, like after a while, I kind of feel like the Jets is like, it's not that we don't want to pay him. We're just sick of this every single week. I mean, this has gone on forever where he's clearly a guy that wants to be heard. And now that he's in a better situation, I'm worried if I'm Seattle and be like, well, which version are we getting? The guy that's now happy or the guy that was miserable the entire time with the Jets?
That was pretty good. All right, Russillo, it's good seeing you. You're tan. It's the summer. This guy's got a life. I'll tell you something. He's got quite a life. I'm not even going to get into the kind of life, but it is nothing but sitting out in the sun and lifting weights. Oh,
big fan over here.
Yeah. You're a riot. All right, buddy.
I grabbed this. It was on the free pile before I left.
Yeah, I bet it was. Yeah, great. Thanks, buddy.
Download the all-new Fox Sports app now.